What if you could press the reset button on your health and give your body the fresh start it's been craving? Most of us know when our body is running on empty. We feel or we experience low energy, brain fog, aches, and even stubborn weight gain. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to reset your body in a holistic, sustainable way so that you can feel energized, confident, and strong inside and out.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or maybe it's evening. It doesn't really matter what time it is, and it doesn't even matter where you are. We want to welcome you to Wholeness Wednesdays. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and join our host, Beatrice Hutchison, as we explore and experience our journey to complete wholeness.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Completely Whole's Wholeness Wednesdays. I am your host, Beatrice Hutchison, and I am here again on the channel where we talk about wholeness in every area. We talk about physical wholeness, we talk about mental, emotional wholeness, we talk about spiritual wholeness, and even financial wholeness. And so today, as we are continuing with our theme for the month of August, we're talking about new beginnings, reset your life. So, we're talking about different aspects of resetting our lives. And so, as you know, last month was the month of July, the number 7, which is the number of completion. So, as we crossed over into August, we are in this month of new beginnings, this season of new beginnings that we crossed over into. And so I know at the beginning of the year, we usually, then January, we say Happy New Year, and that's when we have our new beginning. But I want us to, where I'm coming to you from the perspective of having a new beginning, even before we end the year, we want to have a reset in this new season so that we can accomplish all the things that we still yet have to accomplish for this year. I don't know about you, but I still have some things this year that I need to accomplish that are a part of my goals that I've not yet reached yet. And so, because of that, I am working towards meeting every goal. It's not too late. So, I want you to know it's not too late. If you still have things that you've not yet accomplished, things that you are still yet working towards, it's not too late. You still have time to accomplish all of the things that you have in your mind and what God has for you to accomplish. And so, in order for us to be able to do that, as we have crossed over into this new season, it's important that we are intentional about the next months and how we govern ourselves in those months. And so last week we came and we talked about resetting our mindset, right? The importance of that. And today we're talking about, or coming from the topic of resetting our bodies, right? So the topic is reset your body, nourish, heal, and thrive. And so we're talking about resetting our bodies today. Why is that important? So, first, I'd like to talk to you about why a body reset is necessary. Why do we need to do it? So, if we be honest, life puts a lot of demands on us. We go through a lot from day to day, all types of situations, all kinds of things that we're exposed to or that we're dealing with, and lots of things in our diet and in our environment that we have access to, right? Or that we take into our bodies. So we have processed foods and we have stress and lack of sleep. All of those things together put our bodies into overdrive. So we're just moving, moving, moving. We're going in overdrive, but we're not really accomplishing the things that we need to. So we're not very productive because we're just in overdrive. According to the CDC, 6 in 10 adults in the US have a chronic disease, and many of these conditions are preventable through lifestyle changes. There's a quote that says, "Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And that was by Jim Rohn. And so it's important that we understand that this body, right, this vessel, this house is a temple. This is what we have to live in. If we don't take care of it, who will? So a reset, when we talk about a reset is not just about punishing our bodies or taking away something from ourselves, but it's about nourishment. It's about really and truly being healthy. So this is a journey towards wholeness. As we've been talking about, as we always talk about here on this channel, we are moving from brokenness place, the ways that we've been broken, towards wholeness. And so, because it is a wholeness journey, it is not a quick fix. It is not something that we expect to acquire overnight, but it is something that we are working towards. Next, I'd like to talk to you about the four pillars of a body reset. So, what will it take for us to do? What are the foundational pillars or cornerstones that we need to focus on when we're talking about having a body reset? So, first, we want to look at nutrition. We want to think about a nutrition reset. What does that mean? So, you need to remove, or we need to remove, any processed foods, any excess sugar, any of those foods that do not do our bodies well, right? Anything that has any inflammatory ingredients in it, those things we need to remove. And because most, and I talked about the health and underlying diseases, but it's important that we understand that inflammation is the underlier, is almost like the foundation of all of the different illnesses and sicknesses and ailments. Inflammation plays a very, very big part in it, and a lot of the foods that we take in, a lot of the things in our environment, cause inflammatory responses in our bodies, because then our bodies feel like it needs to protect itself. And so a lot of the foods that we eat have inflammatory ingredients in it, right? The meats that are pumped with all of these hormones and steroids and all of the antibiotics and all of these different things, even our produce with the pesticides and all of those things, they cause an inflammatory response in our bodies, and therefore we go on to develop other ailments and other illnesses and disorders and all of those things as a result of the inflammatory ingredients that are found in our foods, and not to mention our environments and the things that we put on our bodies, on our skin, and all of those things, they all play a part. So we need to be intentional about identifying those things, educate ourselves on what those things are, right? And those processed foods, they're not naturally made, right? They are processed. They are even like the GMO, those things are modified by a process or man's hands, right? There's something that happens where it goes through some type of a process, and usually in that process they put a lot of sodium, a lot of different things as to serve as preservatives, but those things do not, our bodies do not respond well to them. So it's important that we identify what those things are. Then we can also focus on whole, organic, and nutrient dense foods. And so, what that means, or what it looks like, some examples of that would be leafy greens, our berries, wild caught fish. Very, very important, because those that are grown in farms, they are manipulated with the hormones and all types of things, right? So when you get wild caught fish, and if you look at them side by side, they look very different, right? The wild caught is nice and pink and very healthy looking, whereas the other one looks kind of freezer burnt, and you can visibly see the difference. And so, how much more are the elements or the nutrients in the product altered if it's, grown in a different environment? So when you're talking about any type of fish, any type of seafood, you want to make sure that it's always wild caught. It's the healthiest kind. And then also your whole grains and your nuts and your seeds. So it's important that you look at, these are just some examples, but you want to find for yourself what what would qualify as clean eating for you? What does that look like? And so you also have to look at what your body likes, right? Because your body also, like for me, I have a lot of sensitivities to foods, and I had to find that out by eating them and then my body not responding well to them, right? So whereas whole grains, I mentioned that as far as an example of a nutrient dense food, but for me, my body doesn't like whole grains, right? So for me, I use alternatives or other things, and my body, even with the nuts, will respond to some nuts but not all nuts, right? And so but I use that as an example so that you understand that for each person is going to be different. It really depends on what your body is able to tolerate. And so even with the nuts, you may be like me, you may be able to tolerate some nuts and then not other nuts, and then all nuts are not created equal, right? We do a lot of the almond and the almond milks and the things like that, but even some of the nuts can have some inflammatory properties, right? So we want to make sure that we pay attention to that. Some nuts are more heart healthy, like your walnuts, your pecans, those sorts of things. So you want to do a little research and know what would be healthiest for you, and then know what your body can tolerate. And then even seeds, because nuts and seeds, they don't have the same effect on the body, right? So you may have an intolerance towards nuts, but then you are fine with seeds. So it really depends on you, and it really takes you paying attention to the things that you can eat and what your body responds well to. There's a research study that says, it was a Harvard study actually, that shows that diets rich in whole foods lower the risk of heart disease and boost immunity. So with this, you want to kind of consider, how can you put this into practice? So consider a 7 to 14-day clean eating plan to jumpstart your reset. And so you want to look at, as we talked about, identifying those foods that would be clean eating for you, removing all of the junk foods, those things that are high in sugar, all the starches, uh, and all of those processed foods, right? And those things that are locally grown, those things you want to make sure that you stay away from. Organic, because then it doesn't have all of those pesticides, and it doesn't have all of those it's grown a little bit better now. You also have to be very careful when you're talking about looking at things that are really whole grain and things that are really organic, right? So you have to pay attention to those things, because uh, all labels are not created equal. Just because it says it's whole grain doesn't mean it is. Just because it says it's organic doesn't mean that it is, right? So you also, maybe one episode I'll come and I'll talk about how to read labels so you'll know how to compare them so that you know what you're really getting. And so if you're interested in something like that, drop that down in the chat and I'll make a video like that. But it's important that you understand that everything is not created equal. Just because it says it's organic doesn't mean that it is. And there was a time where it was a fad to have these low fat things, right? Everything said low fat, and everything was not low fat, right? And so a lot of things are for marketing purposes so that you will purchase it, but everything is not what it needs to be. So you do have to know how to read the labels. You need to know what you're getting. And so that's something to consider. So you can start out with just doing 7 days or 14 days, or you can, whatever would be comfortable for you, but you want to start trying to shift. Just put yourself on a plan, an eating plan that's clean, where you take in a lot more of the healthier foods and see how your body begins to react to that. The next thing you want to do is a hydration reset. And so hydration is very, very important. It's key. This is a place that I struggle in. You may have heard me say that before, but water is essential for detox and digestion, and even for just overall cellular health. Hydration is very, very important. Many of us go from day to day and we walk around dehydrated and we're not aware of it. And so it begins to wreak havoc on our bodies, and we will start to have different ailments and different issues, and just overall not feel well and not understand why. But it can be because we are dehydrated. We don't have enough fluids in our bodies as we should to keep us in a place where we need to be, where we're feeling healthy and where everything is working appropriately. So something we can do here is aim to have at least half of your body weight in ounces daily, right? So you want to look at how much you weigh, take half of that and have that amount of ounces per day of water. So now they used to talk about having 8 glasses of 8 ounce, 8 ounces, eight ounce glasses of water per day, but that's not necessarily enough. It all depends on how much you weigh. And so you would look at your body weight and then you would take half of that, and that would be the amount of ounces that you should have of water per day. And if you are challenged with water, as I am, and I'm very transparent about that, you can add fruit to it, right? You can add lemon, things like cucumber, as well as like mint leaves. Those things also have extra detox benefits. But if you're just looking for flavor, something to enhance the flavor, I usually will get frozen fruit and I'll put that in the water. And so that is kind of twofold, because it will not just flavor the water nicely, but it will also chill it, right? And you can have your water bottle out for the day and it will still be chilled because you have the frozen fruit in there that's defrosting over time, right? So that's something that you could also do, but you want to make sure that you do hydrate well. Next, let's talk about movement reset. What does that mean? That means let's get moving. And so consistent movement improves your circulation. It also boosts your mood and it aids in digestion. This is very important because many of us, as I do, have a sedentary, my job. I'm sedentary the majority of the day. I'm in front of a computer doing meetings and all of that. So I have to be intentional about moving, and many of us also do that. So we have to be intentional about getting up and moving around throughout the day. And so when we're talking about having this reset, a movement reset, then we want to start thinking about what would that look like for us. And so just starting out, you can have a mix of cardio and strength training and flexibility exercises. You want to start where you are, right? So you don't want to go in and try to do too much at once, then you'll overexert yourself and then you most likely will not sustain it. So you want to go in and if you're just starting out, you can do a nice little mix of the cardio and some strength training, and also do some flexibility, making sure that you stretch. Oh, please make sure that you stretch if this is something that you're not used to doing, and you need to stretch, or else your body you can actually hurt yourself if you do not stretch those muscles, right? If you just get into it, you can cause more pain to yourself than not. So you can start off with a mix of things, unless you're working on something specifically. If you want to tone, maybe you want to do more of the strength training, or do a lifting of weights and things like that. So depending on what you want to do, what your goal is, what you're trying to accomplish, would be how you would build your plan. But the most important thing here, the point of the whole matter, is to just get up and to start moving. Be intentional about moving around. So even walking for 30 minutes can also reduce the mortality risk by up to 20%. That's significant, by just walking. And so, sometimes you hear people talking about, I have to get my 10,000 steps in. But even with the steps, it depends on your weight, your height, all of those things as well. So, but the point is that you want to get up and you want to get moving around. Even if you are a person that is at the desk working all day, like I am, then, during your meeting, stand up. They have those desks that elevate where you could stand up, and so you can stand up, you can move around, you can do all of those sorts of things, but you have to be intentional about getting some movement in. Even when it's nice weather, you can get out and you could just walk around and take in some fresh air. And that's even wonderful, because then you get some sunlight and you get some vitamin D. So all of those things also can be very, very beneficial when you are trying to get up and get moving, get that blood circulating as it should. Next, I want to talk to you about rest and recovery. Rest is so important. Sleep is when your body repairs itself, it's when it restores itself, where it rejuvenates. So it's very important. Do not skip it. It's important. You need it. God created our bodies that way. And the creation story in Genesis, we see where God created everything in the environment in the 5 days, right? Day six, he created man. But then what happened on the seventh day? It says that he rested. And so that's a pattern for us to follow, but he created our bodies to do that. So not just on the seventh day, he created our bodies to need to be able to get rest so that it can rejuvenate itself, so that it can restore itself, so that it can heal itself. So it's important that we not skip it. Very, very important. So we need to aim to have 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep each night. And I know it's easier said than done, but we can do it if we're intentional about doing it. So we need to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep and restful sleep, not just sleep where you lay down and your mind is constantly thinking, your mind is constantly going because you're not really resting. Then at that point, you're just laying down, but you're not really getting restful sleep that will allow your body to really restore itself and to replenish and all of those things. So you also want to make sure that you reduce the blue light, right? So that means you're not looking at the tablets and the phones and the TV, all of those things right before you go to sleep. So you want to have some type of a routine, right? Some type of a ritual or something that you set each night. You have a routine every single night that you start to, maybe you take your bath or you take your shower and then you have a cup of tea, definitely not coffee. You don't want anything caffeinated, and then that keeps you up as well. But so maybe a nice little herbal tea or whatever it is that you like to drink, and you can have something like that. You can either journal, you may want to color, you may want to read, you may want to pray, you can read a book. I mean, there's so many things you can do. If you journal, you can do like a mind dump, all those things that you're thinking about, that you won't be able to solve that day, right? You drop it, dump it into the book, and you pick it up the next day, and then you work on it the next day. But the whole point is to make sure that your mind is clear at night so that you're able to go to sleep. So it's easier to do if you set a routine that you follow every single night. Your body becomes accustomed to it and you get in the routine of doing it, and then that way it begins to happen. Next, let's talk about faith-based connection. So First Corinthians, the sixth chapter, the 19th through the 20th verse, says, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom ye have received from God? You are not your own, you were bought with a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." And so this is important because our bodies are the vehicle. Like Jim Rohn said, this is the only place we have to live in. And so if we believe that we're spirit man and we're in this body here in the earth realm, this body is our vehicle, it's our temple, it's our house. And so we have to take care of it. If we don't, who will? And so we're supposed to honor God with these bodies that he gave us. And so how do we do that? He's entrusted us with our bodies. And so it's important that we take care of the bodies that we have. It's a part of stewardship, right? How well do we steward our bodies? How well do we take care of what he entrusted to us? That's very important for us to consider because we need to be good stewards of our bodies. If we don't honor our bodies, how can we expect to accomplish all the things that we have to do if we're always feeling sick, if we never have energy, if we're always exhausted and sluggish and have brain fog and not feeling well? And if we're having all these issues, it's impossible for us to persevere and to do the things that we have set up as goals and the things that we'd like to accomplish in life, to be able to fulfill our purpose. It's impossible to do that if we're not feeling well. So we need to honor our bodies. We need to honor God with our bodies. We need to offer ourselves as a living sacrifice. Take care of these bodies. Don't just put anything into our bodies, it's important that we take care of our bodies. And so when we honor our bodies, we create space that we create energy, right? We're able to have energy, we're able to be more focused, we're more healthy, and we're able to accomplish. We have that stick to itiveness, we have that drive, we're encouraged to keep going, we feel motivated, we feel enthusiastic, all those wonderful things. We feel them, right? Because we are able to make sure that our bodies are in a healthy place. And so when you do that, you have the strength now to be able to go and fulfill your purpose. Next, let's talk about some action steps for your body reset. So, as I always love to bring awareness, but it's not just about awareness. From what we talked about, what are we going to implement and how are we going to implement it? Because we need to have a body reset. So, how are we going to do that? So, first, you want to choose your start date, right? So, you don't want to say, okay, I'll start tomorrow. No, give yourself some time, right? You need to be able to set your get your mind, it's a transition, right? So, you need to get your mind in the right space for it. And so, you also need to prepare. So, you want to designate a date, and then you want to commit to that date, right? So that is going to be your reset date. So you want to set it and you want to commit to it. Next, you want to prep your pantry or your cabinets or your refrigerator and all the places that you keep food. You want to prep that space, right? So you want to remove any processed foods that you have. And when I say remove, I don't mean throw it away. I don't believe in throwing any food away. There are people that are hungry. But for the purposes of this, you don't really need to have direct access to it. So if you're not alone, your family may not be going through this transition with you right now, right? And so you may keep that on the side, allow them to eat it, but just for the purposes of this, you want to have your designated area where you don't have access to any processed foods, right? You're going to remove all of those things. Also, you want to stock it with healthy alternatives, because then what happens is that when you're hungry, you want a snack, and then you go looking for something. If there's nothing there that's easily accessible, then you end up grabbing the wrong thing, right? So if you have chips or cakes or those types of junk foods, you have that and you don't have a healthy option, then you're more likely to grab the unhealthy option. So you want to remove those things, right? And then you want to stock it with healthy alternatives, healthier options. So you want to make sure you do that and have that be visible for you. And then communicate it to your family that I'm making this transition. I'd love for you to join me, but if they're not, let them know that these are specifically for my transition, right? I'm going through a body reset, and it's okay to let them know what you're doing. Because if it's like my boys, they they will eat. They like the healthy snacks, right? So they eat it, but they're not working towards anything, right? So, but if you're working towards something, right, I'm working towards something. I need them not to eat my snacks, right? So that's why I say communication is good, so that they know you're working on something, right? But you want to have it, and you want to have it accessible to you, so that when you're hungry, that you could definitely have it and it be accessible to you, where your option will not be to go for the wrong snacks, the unhealthy snacks, but to go for the healthy options. Next, you want to set a movement goal. So whether it's walking or yoga or weightlifting, you want to choose something that you'll enjoy. And so I see all over the internet now where they're talking about this chair yoga and wall Pilates and all these different sorts of things. Just different creative ways to get out and start moving is what you start to see. But think about whatever will make you happy, whether it's weightlifting, any of those things, the Pilates, the yoga, the walking, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. And maybe you may not enjoy doing any of those, but couple it with something that you do enjoy doing. So if you have to go walking, maybe have on your headphones and you're listening to your inspirational videos or your affirmations, or you're listening to an ebook or Audible or something, where you're able to take in something that'll build you up while you're walking. Or you may use that time for prayer, or you may you like to sing during that time, right? Whatever it is that you like to enjoy, couple it with that, so that you can enjoy whatever the time is that you have set aside to get moving. Next, let's talk about hydrate consistently. So that means to have a water bottle with you. And I see a lot of those Stanley cups nowadays that people walk with all the time, but any water bottle will do. And you just want to make sure that you keep it replenished with water throughout the day, right? It be any type of reusable water bottle. You just want to make sure you keep it with you at all times, right? So you want to make sure you have it filled. They have those really cool ones where it shows you how much you drink and all of that. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just want to make sure that you have water throughout the day, and you want to keep it with you throughout the day, because you know that saying, out of sight, out of mind. You don't think about it. So, but if it's always with you, you always see it, then you'll sip on it throughout the day. And many times when you feel hungry, your body is really just thirsty. So then, you'll see it, you'll sip on the water, and that could also help to curb your appetite. And you won't want to snack so much throughout the day. Or you won't may not have a craving for all of those salty and sweet types of snacks and those things that are not necessarily healthy for you. So you want to make sure that you hydrate consistently throughout the day. Next, you want to create a sleep ritual, right? Your routine. What is going to be your bedtime routine? So we do that well for our children, where we set them up, right, so that they can go to sleep. We need to also do that for ourselves. And so we want to each night designate a time to go to sleep, so that we're going to sleep every night at the same time, and we can read or pray or sing or journal and brain dump into a journal, color, whatever it is that we want to do, we can do that. Whatever it is you like to do, drink tea, take a bath, whatever it is. But build your routine. Make sure you stay away from those screens, right? Not using the tablet and the phones, all of those things. But giving your mind time to wind down, to relax, so that when you go to sleep, you actually have restful sleep, and your body is able to do what it's intended to do at that time, which is rejuvenate itself, restore itself, and to heal itself. So those are our action steps. And so I hope that you put something that you've heard into practice. And you may not, we talk about doing not doing everything at once, right? Not getting everything done at once or overnight, but do it in steps. So you may not want to do everything at one time. Maybe you want to start out with making sure you hydrate well. Maybe you want to start out with your sleep routine, right? Putting that in place, because that will actually require a little bit more work, right? Because now you have to put things in place, make sure that everything is done and complete before you're able, whatever it is that you have, your responsibilities are, and then you are able to have that time to yourself where you're able to wind down and then be able to go to sleep and have restful sleep, right? So it depends on where you are, wherever you want to start. Is really up to you. And so you may want to try to do a little bit of each, right? And so that's something that you can certainly do. But start out where you are. I don't want you to do too much and then you get overwhelmed and then you drop all of it, right? But start in little steps, right? Start to make little steps and implement different things here and there, so that you can begin to work towards becoming the healthiest version of yourself. And so it's important that you understand, there's a quote that says, your body will be around a lot longer than an expensive handbag. Invest in it. And so it talks about an expensive handbag, but anything materialistic, right? Your body will be around longer. You need it to be around a lot longer, right? So you need to invest in it. You need to treat it well. You need to be a good steward of it. You have to intentionally take time to take care of it, meaning eat well and sleep well and hydrate well and move well. All of those things we need to do, because we need our bodies to sustain us so that we can accomplish all the many things that we have to do. And so not just even with the things that we take into our bodies, right? But the things that we also have in our environments. When we have our candles and things that we burn, we will make sure we have the healthiest option, because whatever we inhale also goes into our bodies, right? And so we don't want to be inhaling in the toxins. So it's very important that we pay attention to that. And then also, as I talked about, there's so many different things in our environments. I talked about the inflammatory ingredients that are in things as a result of our environment. And so sometimes, or most times, even our produce doesn't have all of the nutrients that we need it to have. So we may need to have something a little bit additional to help us, right? So even in with vitamin D, ironic enough, the many people are vitamin D deficient, right? We don't get enough sunlight, and we don't get the right amounts of sunlight, nor do we have it at the right times of day to get the D that we need, right? And especially the more melanin you have in your skin, the more D you need, right? So it's important to have vitamin D. So you may have a supplement that you use, and I'll link in the description box below the one that I use. But I use a liquid one that has peppermint in it, so it doesn't upset your stomach. But it's wonderful. Really, really brings you to where you need to be with your vitamin D levels. And so you'll see that a lot of ailments and disorders are as a result of having a vitamin D deficiency. Very interesting. Even like some female disorders and things like that. So those are supplements that you can take, right? Some people need iron supplements, right? And so I have here my liquid gold, source of life liquid gold, and so that's a liquid vitamin. And it's just a whole bunch of nutrients and vitamins from fruit and vegetables, and so it's all in liquid form, and so it's easier for the body to absorb, right? It's not like taking a pill where it has to go through the whole digestion process, and much of it gets excreted. And so with the liquid, you take that and it gets absorbed into the walls of your organs. Your body is able to absorb it a lot better. So you're able to get those nutrients. And so that works tremendously. As well as I cannot live without my noni juice, right? So noni is a super fruit juice, right? It's Tahitian, the original Tahitian noni juice. And I cannot live without this stuff. It's wonderful. It increases your energy levels, your immunity. It really helps to sustain you, helps with a lot of different things in the body. And so I'm not making any medical claims here today, but what I am sharing is that if you take in the right nutrients, and noni juice is a wonderful one, but you can really help to repair your body and to really even prevent some things, or even to reverse some things, right? And so it does different things for different people. I'm telling you that it's a wonderful nutrient dense juice where it gives you a lot of vitamins, and it really does help you to just overall feel better, gives you more energy. And so, but for so many people, it does so many different things, and people use it strategically to help some of their ailments, right? And so, but there's so many different things that you can do with that. And then I also have some renew here. I don't know if you can see that. But that also helps with just restoring the body, the HCG, and also with going to sleep. I talked about the whole sleep routine, and so this could also help you to get a good night's sleep, right? Helps to relax your body and helps you to get that sleep that you need. And then also, even I will do some in the mornings. I will do or like a protein shake. And so what I'll do is I'll put my giving greens in there. And so this is wonderful. This nutrient rich. It has all kinds of, has spirulina in it, has chlorella, has an enzyme blend in it, has alfalfa grass, cinnamon bark, has all kinds of wonderful nutrients in here. And so it's just wonderful. And so I add that to my protein shake along with my protein powder, and it's just wonderful, and it helps to just give me energy throughout the day, right? And I have another supplement where I have like the ashwagandha in there, and all of those things help me to build up my body, because I don't get everything that I need from the foods that I eat, although I try to do my best. But also, as we get older, the body doesn't always make those things, as many of those nutrients and things as it used to. So it's important that we supplement where we need to, if we have to. And then also you'll see, as I talked about, also what we put on our bodies, and not just what we put in our bodies and then those supplements, but also what we put on our bodies. And so you'll see even over here, I have and as you know, I make my own products. So the things that we put on our skin, right? I have a magnesium oil that I make that's wonderful, right? Magnesium oil is good. We're talking about getting up and moving and exercising and those things. When you get those sore muscles or you get fatigue from overworking, that magnesium oil does wonderfully. You massage that into your muscles and it helps with that. And also just spraying it on your feet at night, it also helps to calm your nervous system, helps you to get good sleep. Lots of different things, right? Again, not making medical claims, but just things that we find that can supplement and help aid our bodies in doing what it needs to do, right? And so even with the regular body butters, the lotions and the body scrubs, all of those things, we also, and body sprays, all of those things I also make. But whatever it is that we put on our bodies, our soaps, everything needs to be made with natural organic products, again, because our skin is a membrane, right? And so it's the biggest organ we have, and it absorbs everything that we put onto it. So it's important that we're not putting a lot of toxins onto our skin because we're putting it into our bodies. So it's important that we do that. And so I'll also include links to in the description box below. If you'd like to use any of the products that I use, or if you'd like to purchase from my store, I will include that so that you could go in and even just take a look around there. But it's important. I hope that I'm making the point today that it's important how we take care of our bodies. It's going to take for us to be intentional about taking better care of our bodies. And so we need to be better stewards. We need to do as well as we can, and we can't do it if we're not intentional. So we gave those practical steps. I hope that you put some of those things into place. And please do drop in the chat. Let me know how it's going. If you'd like some more information about anything that we talked about tonight, but I'd like to hear how the journey is going for you. And to find out if you're starting to make that life change, and if you have already, maybe some tips that you could also share with us here. And so as we often end together, as we often do. And I didn't mention my essential oils. Of course, I make my products with my essential oils, and I also will make some essential oils, but I use the high quality, of course, but because it matters what you put onto your bodies and even into your atmosphere. And so as we close together, please let us affirm together as we often do. So repeat after me. I nourish my body with love, care, and wisdom. Every choice I make brings me closer to health, vitality, and purpose. And my prayer for you is that you will be made whole in your body, that you will have a complete reset in your health. And so God wants you to be healthy, and I do too. He wishes above all that you would prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So he wants you to be blessed. He wants you to be healthy. He wants you to be strong. He wants you to be able to accomplish your purpose and all the things that you have set out in life to do. He wants you to be successful. He wants you to be strong. He wants you to be able to be blessed and to reach every goal that you set. And that is also my prayer for you, that you'll be made whole in every area of your life, especially in your body. And so until we meet again, take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. Be healthy and be made whole.
We thank you for sharing this time with us here at Wholeness Wednesdays. Thank you for joining us to explore and experience this journey to complete wholeness. Please remember that we are only an email away. Your questions and input are welcome via bhutch@completelywhole1.com. See you next time here at Wholeness Wednesdays.